Good morning, folks. Finally, good morning. Thanks for joining us this morning, FYI family. We hope that you guys are great and well and all the other things. Good morning, good morning. We're safe and sound, folks. So many of you, we were so heartened. We were so heartened. Let us know if you hear us loud and clear. We were so heartened yesterday. So many of you worrying about uh, the safety of yours truly and the safety of my brother Travis Chase. I woke up with Travis in my ears this morning. My ears ringing. Good morning, folks. How are you? Melanie Drayton and Mandy Cummins, Frank Rice. Good morning to you, Sherry Van Rossum, Yonette Lester, Moses Emerson, John, Sandra Irwin. Going to have all of you folks on the live this morning. Pretty Melissa, going to have you on the live. I see Tanya Stewart says she was stressed out. I stressed out yesterday. Romel and Belinda, Edward, Rena, Roxy, Melissa, Monroe. Melissa says, I don't hear. I know y'all would disagree with her. I know y'all would disagree with Melissa. I don't hear. Y'all would disagree with Melissa, won't you? Won't you? We're good, folks. We're good. A little tired still. Got back very, very late last evening from the mining town. And, you know, the sleep still in us. But we didn't want to disappoint you folks this morning. Alicia and Charmaine and all the other folks. You know, 2 young men were killed in the 48 hours in Linden. We had on the one hand Ronaldo Peters, and then on the other hand, this young man, Dan Johnson. I saw his name also as, I think, as Fajine, I think. But nonetheless, 2 persons died in Linden in the last 48 hours. And interestingly, Melissa and Alicia, Rohan, and all the other folks, Claudine and Simone, interestingly, both young men live in the same area, in almost the same street. In almost the same street. We spoke to his stepfather yesterday. This is Ronaldo Peters. And the audio is not where, you know, it should have been. There was a lot of noise in the area, and the audio is not where it should have been. But the stepdad said to us, this whole issue about a rape allegation was new to the family. A rape charge that he was wanted by the police, that was new to the family. He said he, moved about Linden, came out of Linden, went back to Linden, and he's never been stopped by the police. As far as they know, he's never been apprehended by the police, wanted by the police. The police has never come looking for him. That's some of what the stepdad said. So, we apologize. We posted a video on our page, but the audio, when I listened back to it, was not 100%. It's so much you have to do when you on the ground and you're trying to do all these things at the same time. And so I apologize for that. The audio is not where it should have been. We also spoke to the brother of Ronaldo Peters, the brother of Dan Johnson, who was the young man who was shot, during the course of that protest. Interestingly, his brother tells us that he was not part of the protest. As a matter of fact, he was now coming from work in Georgetown and heading home. When he was shot in the eye and later succumbed to those injuries. But one of the bigger questions, Loretta Argyle and Wenda Simone Morna. Good morning, Morna. Twana Green, good morning as well. One of the bigger questions is, why was the police using live rounds? I saw folks across the political divide ask the question, why, knowing the history, how these things can go from 0 to 60 very, very fast. Why weren't government officials on the ground there very early yesterday morning trying to placate the situation there? Why is that? I heard folks who were on the ground yesterday say, the police force needs a crisis negotiator, not live rungs, and that their very presence in those numbers compromising, if not added, to what happened there. Folks protesting the death of Ronaldo Peters and asking for justice to be done. And there's a distrust, big distrust of the government. They don't want them, but no RSS. I heard the president saying that they're doing inviting the regional security apparatus, this is from the GECOM, to look into this matter. They're inviting them to look into this matter. So I don't know where that's going to go. When the president says no stone unturned, you got to wait a long time. The Henry boys' parents still waiting. Both mothers died. The rest of the family still waiting. Who murdered the Henry boys? So when Irfan comes to Linden and he starts talking about no stone unturned and pledging support, what does that mean? What does that mean? Natasha Cummins, Marlon Thomas, some of the issues that we're watching. I was very surprised that the president didn't make his way over to the Wisma Shore, where all the action was. I'm very surprised he didn't do that. And even the police performance yesterday was left much to be desired. The police performance yesterday. We're good to have all of you on the live, Neville and Ingrid, Sandra. Our hope is that the police force can do better. Under the last administration, the Ghana police force was going somewhere. It was heading in a particular direction, on the up and up. A police force that is following the instructions of private individuals or on the instructions of senior members of the government, that's not a good police force. That is not a good police force at all. at all. Yeah. So the folks yesterday, they were angry. They want justice. They've seen this movie before. And some of the actors, the policeman whose name is being called, this is not the first time. It's not the first time he's involved in this kind of thing. It's not the first time. So as we were on the ground there yesterday, folks, you know, one of the persons the protesters were calling for is Muhammad. You know, they want Asriddin to come. He tried to placate them, you know, still following events there, even though we came back to tongue safe and sound yesterday. Thanks to your prayers, thanks for all your concerns. Right? But as far as we know, nothing new to report, but as we know, you guys are going to know. Here's some of what Asriddin Muhammad says. He was in the ground yesterday, trying to persuade the people there to let the bridge open and let some normalcy come back, and telling protesters to let's have some confidence in the system, you know, to work. Let's give them some time to work. Here's somebody said.
We try to come to a compromise if we move off everything.
Nah, we can't because we know you feel it, you know. We know you feel it as a president, we can't take it, sir. You gotta come and see this police shine back and shine tear gas and shooting at people. They're shooting at people.
Let me come to a solution, let me come to a compromise.
No solution today, no.
I ain't want nobody get
Ah, baby, can't pull off. This is wrong, them doing this. This is wrong. This is the moment you know. What is she? The same we are there. The she we get. We can't do that. We can't do that. We can't do that. There's a black in me. All day there's a black in me. We can't do that. We can't how you feel with president, but it's painful. But if you look on Facebook, last night Dan was talking something about Kendall and Kendall got get this and can't walk. I see what happened today. Where did it look like? It looked like you're doing like a biostat. You're targeting this man. It's wrong, but it's wrong. I was a police and me can't nobody fucking say. They could tell me whatever they want to because the old force so I fucking unruly. They're wrong, but it's too much. They're wrong. They're fucking wrong. They're wrong, but I like them mess with the wrong fucking family because them people is fucking them people that the wrong family they mess with, buddy. They're wrong.
He's a demon, listen. Can that every time he Linden, you go in the mines, you go
in the fucking
quality. Every time he Linden, he shoot people, he lock up people, he put gun to people's children's head, he wicked mount a report and end up the transfer it down. And I believe
I'm sure they will charge him and remand him. I'm sure they will.
And now they bring him back.
It's murder.
And look, he even there, he come up here back with that thing away. Back with the Ilani. And this is what we do. Back with the Ilani. This is what we do.
But even he ranks the complaint to the station that he fighting them down. He said like he's a pest. Like he's a pest. If you want he's the best in society, man. I don't care. I said off. I'm not afraid of that. Ex-police officer, let's try to fucking one. I don't fucking get time with them. I don't fucking care. They want to never take me. If I police force because I don't take for injustice. They used to tell me that I'm a civilian, but I don't care. I don't care. I don't like to run away.
Put your name on the money. It's time you put your name on the money.
Nothing wrong. Peaceful protest. Let me haul off everything and let it break. Start work back because some of our own brothers and sisters got to cross.
Hey, I say to the man. You claim if you say these people get injustice?
They will get justice. They will get justice.
Yes.
They will get justice.
You want nobody yet?
You're going to get bodyguard.
Clear off everything, please. Y'all clear off everything.
And today we gotta get justice.
You will get justice. Yes,
They're banning from crossing on the bridge. You have to come to a boat. I tell you.
No, I gotta come across the bridge.
Why do we want all the election?
You want oil election? Let me give you oil election. Because we can vote in July. You want oil election?
And we're going to take your word. We're going to take your word at what you say because you left her to come here to cool me down. We're going to take your word.
I'm not cooling down. So, FPPP think that it's my Africa's problem, it's not Africa's problem. It's begging the people for peace, and I have done fighting it out. I have done so the man come and tell them Africa's for making people that go on the street. Y'all like
you telling we clear, and if we only go close, if we clear them, I'm shooting.
I'm sure if we call the police and clear all the place, all we want is your infrastructure. We want to damage anything here is your infrastructure. The people in Linden.
But when we walk in, they'll go to jail, and the one prime minister shoot it by today. Let me make a court case because they want to go on by you. They could have come for vehicle, and the magistrate, the judge could have make a case right on Saturday.
That's my story. Don't worry with them.
No, we're here for you. And we got them.
When you come here, beg me.
The fight that you know.
And then don't build a new bridge.
Y'all, you come for beg me, and y'all we give him word.
They could have make court Saturday. I don't know court on Saturday.
Target for we. So he come and he begging we. Y'all let me give you a hearing and let me do we say.
Let's hear what them young dogs say.
Yes, so we.
Let's hear what them kitchen dogs say.
Let me hear what them say. Y'all let me give you a hearing.
Gonna be a more fucking bad. Don't do back done.
You hear what I say? We're gonna give you peace. We're gonna give you peace. We're gonna give you peace.
Them are done in.
We're gonna give you peace.
Them are done in. Police stand up and shine my up to the iron. We want justice. There's an innocent man there today. We want justice. We want justice.
So he comes to beg me for peace. Y'all come. Y'all let me do it. Y'all let me do it. He come and beg me for peace.
All I want, everybody to support this man. That's all I want. Because he gets in the most fight. And if we got stay with him. We got peace.
Let me give you peace.
Let me present here we got here today. You here, Uncle?
All right, that's some of what happened on the ground yesterday, folks, as we were in the mining town of Linden, trying to get a sense of what was going on there. The shooting death of Ronaldo Peters the evening prior in that very half-mile area that you saw so much commotion in yesterday morning. And then yesterday, the shooting death of Dan Johnson in that half-mile area as well yesterday. And it's a long walk if you take the bridge into half-mile there in Linden, but a really expansive piece of real estate. The police force really underperform, if that is part of the standard SOP, what took place in half-mile yesterday. It leaves much to be desired. I saw some more brooms on the ground there in Linden yesterday. Irfan Ali was in Linden yesterday. I saw members of the opposition as well. It was quite interesting that Irfan Ali didn't venture over to Wisma. It was quite interesting. He sought the safety of, I think it was either the RDC building or it was Watuka House. He saw the safety there, meeting with families I saw last evening. I don't know what assurances they can give because there have been so many assurances from Irfan Ali and his government in the past. I see lots of you asking, where's Mr. Norton? Mr. Norton was out, was overseas. I think he's still overseas, might be overseas still. And that is why I'm told you didn't see him personally on the ground yesterday, but I saw Sherwin Holder, the party chairman, the party general secretary on the ground yesterday as well. But part of the challenge was yesterday that, once you were on one side, the bridge was blocked and lots of folks couldn't get over on the other side yesterday. But I did see them on the ground, if not in person on social media. I did see them on the ground as well. But that was part of the challenge that you had yesterday. But I would have loved to see government officials, folks, this country has such a divide that we have to help to heal as we move this country forward. This one Guyana has put forward by the PPP has not worked for us. It has not. I have seen folks in Region 6 protest, block the road, do all manner of things, and they are never met with live wrongs. You know, they are never met with live wrongs. You know, they are spoken to, and calmed. People will go to calm them down, as one woman said there, and then it dissipates. But live wrongs and tear gas is not always, is never the first preference, if ever the preference. There, why is it there's such stark different responses to different communities? Right? We saw in several instances the protesters weren't doing anything, and the police just started shooting. The police just opened fire, just like that. And again, exacerbated what was already a tense, extremely tense situation on the ground there. And that is very, 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 very tragic. So if that is the police SOPs, they leave a lot to be desired. But so much else is happening in the country, folks. That's happening on one side. And we got our eyes on that too. But we got some other things that is happening. I see Glenford Gordon is saying terrible leadership in the Ghana police force. You know, there were like 3 fires lit on that road there heading into Half Mile. Silver City, Half Mile, going right up there. And the policemen had no fire tender there, but yet they were trying to take the ground, you know, pushing back the protesters. They had no fire tender. These were sizable fires. I don't know what they were going to do, put the shields on it or what have you, right? And the opening fire on the protesters and kind of pushing them back all at the same time. And then is when you see all that, the missiles started raining down, right? And once they, you know, sadly, I saw some of the policemen injured. You know, that should never happen. That should never happen. Once the commander on the ground there, I think he was the only person I saw. The only person I saw in brown clothes. Once he was injured, the whole thing was in chaos. You know, the police ran there. The whole thing was in total chaos. Once he was injured and started retreating, you know, and the police had to walk a very far way. Even if you pack all of them in the van, they couldn't fit in the van. They had to pull back inch by inch, a very, very far way to the foot of that hill. It was sad. I don't know what strategy that was. I don't know who was giving, you know, who was in charge of that operation, but it was just total chaos. You know, the police were undermanned and underperformed. But we should never, I think, attack our policemen like that. Several policemen we saw struck. That's very, very sad. But the whole operation there was top to bottom confusion. Confusion. It's such a moment in this country, folks. It is such a moment in this country because that's happening on the one side. And I'm making a very special effort not to spend all the morning there because, you know, there might be some elements in the government that wants to use that as a distraction. Perhaps that is why at several intervals, when the protesters were peaceful and calm, police just started firing on them. There was no attempt to appease them. There was no attempt to meet with, you know, the leaders of the protests, whoever they may be, to placate. There was never any of that. So maybe the PPP government was trying to use that as a distraction, because yesterday we learned, for instance, you all know we're in the cusp of an election. November is the far out month that has been given, but persons believe that this election could be called in September. They need a 3-month window to call it. It could be called, you know. I believe strongly when the coalition partners decide to go alone, I think it's inevitable. then you'll hear the election they call. When they decide to go alone, I don't think if the PP thinking strategically, they want to give 5 months to the Mohammeds to build an organization, a political organization, to contend with them. So if the opposition is divided, and while this Mohammed movement is in its infant stage, even if their forces are half or three-quarter, they're going to call that election. So we might see an election earlier than is anticipated. That's happening. And then we got some distractions because we learned yesterday that the legal officer at GECOM, Mr. Kurt De Silva, did not have his contract renewed. Now, I saw on social media nothing but good thoughts about this gentleman. He was doing law the same time I was studying law. I think he was a year behind me, not a year in front of me, doing law. And he has always struck me as an upright individual. He's always struck me as that individual. And I was happy yesterday when I saw a lot of persons on social media giving that reference to him as well. Always upright. He loves the law, and he wants to apply the law how he sees it in his own deliberate judgment. Right. GECOM retains a lawyer so that they can have a legal mind on the many matters that confront GECOM that are of a legal nature. But with the non-renewal of his contract, Guyanese at home and abroad, it is more evident than ever that this government want advice that is in sync. They want to tell you the advice that they want. Let me put it in that way. They don't want you to give them your legal opinion. They want you to take their legal opinion and make it your own so they can accept it. That is what they want. That is what they want. They don't want an independent thinking. And as a matter of fact, I think it was the chairwoman, it is reported, who referenced his divergent views on registration and the residency requirement, if any, and the need for an address and all of that, his differing views to the quote-unquote commission as a reason. How could you give a man an appraisal of 98%, and you don't renew the contract because of one issue that you have a problem with? But a man like the current chief elections officer, who has had several missteps during his short tenure there at GECOM, he gets his contract renewed. Several missteps by comparison. So the thing looks a certain way because it is. This PPP, Mandy, Horace, Leland, Vanessa, don't take lampstick to look for where you're seeing in broad daylight. The thing is already being rigged. They got the CEO that they want. He is pliable to their concerns and their interests. He ain't giving no independent advice. He given the advice that they have given to him, that he will give to them and say, yes, we agree with you. GECOM is not independent. It is not. And the chairwoman of GECOM, Claudia Singh, she's in lockstep with them as well. She's in lockstep. But the legal officer cannot be bought, and so he got to go. He has to go. The last thing they want is you're in an election now, and the legal officer is saying something else. And it's the same thing happened, if I'm not mistaken, Deborah Marshall. It's the same thing happened, if I'm not mistaken, Joel Thomas. Happened to the last legal officer, Miss Paris. Ms. Paris had some differing views on the recount and some other things, if memory serves me correctly. And I apologize if I'm inaccurate. She had some differing views from the commission, and that is why she's no longer with the commission. They want to go down a certain path. No, they just want a legal officer in name to say the post has been filled. And they will tell the legal officer what to say, and the legal officer must comply, and you say, it's our legal officer told us. I don't know why they don't make that within the legal officer. Create a rule. He can be commissioner and legal officer and finish it. Because this whole puppy show and puppet show, nobody's fooled by it. Nobody is fooled by it. This is what you want. You're given a legal opinion, you say it is yours, and then they say, our legal officer, tell us. So while Linden is happening, we got to be watching here too. The rigging has started. They changed the law because they have the one-seat majority in parliament on residency, right? And some other things. The Deaths and Birth Act, you could just go and swear now to shower some village elder and you could get a birth certificate. The thing has already started. The gerrymandering of the boundaries to enlarge their constituencies, to give them a political advantage. It has already started. And yesterday is part of that. Yesterday's activity. I got to spend some time putting these thoughts down in writing so you guys can read more of it. We don't have all the time in the program, but certainly in your own private time, you guys can read some of this. How they've started to rig the thing. You had a whole commission of inquiry. You're trying to demonize so many people there at GECOM who should have their day in court. And this COI says nothing about Claudette. She's the only angel. Everybody else get demonized. And her past performance, pre-2020, has done nothing to improve her performance post-2020. I have never seen such a lackluster, disengaged, competent with the law. But GECOM, my God, totally incompetent. She's so disengaged. She's not leading from the front. Not because somebody excels in law in one area mean that they can be good for over here too. How much time we must learn the man? How much time? Not because he's a doctor over here. Mean if you're a medical doctor over here, mean you can put somebody over here and you can get a bright star. Or you'll get success in this other endeavor here. The lady has not risen to the occasion once. And it came out through her own testimony in the COI. She never knew. Oh, she would think, and this and that. One time they said she was kidnapped by APNU people who were trying to rig. And then she said she was never in any danger. She was just needed some time to compose herself. So she left everything and she went up in a room by herself. And then you're hearing now during the course of these fraudulent charges, how the SOPs, that a lot of PPP people want to see, the SOPs, were left unattended for hours in the company of the Swift Girl and company. Gali Khan, just like Rasinda Rasool, who we can come to just now. Gali Khan was one of the observers of the Private Sector Commission. They knew the man's nature from since then. But who got money in this country? Got bargain. Gali Khan was with them. He was an observer for the Private Sector Commission. Jerry Gavaya friend. What a waste he is as well. National Security Advisor of what? On what? I'd love to see some of the advice he's given the president. I'd love to see some of it. National Security Advisor. He may earning money on a false pretense. Earning money on a false pretense. Guyanese is going to fire all of them. And it looks like sooner rather than later. Fire all of them. You go in the ballot box and you go in the polling booth and you put your X the right place. Fire all of them. Fire all of them. The man got 98% in his appraisal. What kind of upside down country is this? On critics' appraisal for Tupui, for the Bellevue contract, he gets 0. And he get the $800 million contract. A man get 98% and he get the boot. 98% because you don't agree. He's too independent, man. They don't want that. They don't want that. You see James posting things with them every day. Every day. He's more PvP than PvP people now. I don't see PvP people posting as much. They can't do something fast enough. That's his assignment. That's his work. Share out newspaper and post. They can't write something fast enough for he will share it. You see? That is what they want, blind obedience. The minute he got a different view. You remember there was a man who said, show me the evidence. Another man said, Jack, you got the back, man. Jack, your time gone. He was a rising star. We don't know. They don't want independent voices. They don't want, their nature is not democratic. It is not. So don't let me fool ourselves. So they've not renewed the man contract. I want to see y'all rationalize that. Rationalize that. 98% on his appraisal. The chairman said, oh, he didn't carry our line. So you want give the man the opinion? You want give the man the legal opinion that you want? And you see successful then? That's how we say successful. So they're fighting a fight on so many fronts. The Guyanese people, we ain't gonna fight them in a couple of months. If so long. They fired the man. Basically. Well, you and I knew since he started going in a different direction, his days was numbered. We knew this is instinctively. So while we were yet surprised, we weren't surprised by their actions. We were not. No, I ain't seen the usual suspects. I'm not seeing the usual suspects on this. You know, the Private Sector Commission, the GCCIs of this world, some of the other chambers, oh, they work like clockwork to get out a statement to praise the government and to praise, by extension, GECOM. Their lines will change. Met with GECOM, I don't know if the PNCR has met with them as yet, and pointed out several things that needs attention. And then they come out and say, we ain't got no problem with GECOM. So I know what AFC talking about. In every right thinking Guyanese person's mind, how do you justify giving a 98%? That man has to be a very good, efficient counsel for GECOM. And then you fire him just because he didn't give the opinion you want to give on a particular matter? If this organization had any integrity, They could have said, yes, but by majority vote, we disagree and go in the direction you want to go. But you see, they can't have Mr. De Silva in the camp at a critical election, in the middle of that election, when decisions got to be made, saying something that is contrary to them. So they got to look for PPP person now, full bread. That's why I say, let us remove the pretenses. The chairman doing his own thing all the time. Just hire that to them. He doesn't get enough big money as a rep for the PPP, as a commissioner. You know, he might settle for half price. If you want to pay the full thing to pay, give it the true salary. But just let me stop pretending. Just let me stop pretending. He can be commissioner and he can be the legal counsel too. He has my vote. But let us stop pretending that GECOM got any semblance of independence, as they should. And I hope all of our international stakeholders especially taking note. I see the EU delegation making the rounds on electoral issues. I wonder how they square with them. I wonder if the EU and the USA and Canada and the UK and so on, the ABC EU countries, as we call them, if they got a chat, if they got a WhatsApp chat, they say, girl, you see what happening over here? Look, they won't correct no more. 98% and you still get fail. But critics fail every question for the Bellevue contract, and he get passed and get 800 million. What kind of country is this? What kind of country is this? And Irfan is a good president, and this is good governance? This is madness. This is madness. I saw the joint services in election security training too. Happy for you. I don't have to say anything else, you know, to know where this is going. You read it till leaves. They change the residency requirement. Gerrymandering the boundaries, putting the boundaries to favor them. Right. The Births and Death Act has been changed. You can go and swear in front of a cow now, or a rock. Birth certificate is yours. You got all the rights as a Guyanese. But the right that we're most interested in is voting. Remember, we live in a country, people not concerned how they vote within the box, you know. Once they got paper in the box, you don't got to get statutory document. Chanel and Ganesh, them know the thing at heart. You don't got all that. Thing in the box. Folks are saying there's an echo in my voice. Y'all hearing an echo? Anybody hearing an echo? Or we don't have an extra mic on someplace? Any echoing? Yeah, so we gotta, you know, keep all these things on the front burner, right? Keep all of these issues on the front burner. Don't get distracted easily. Yes, we have an eye in Linden and a needed eye in Linden, but we got some things to focus on here. Folks saying no echoes, loud and clear. Right? So we got all these fronts. Thank you, guys. We got to keep our eyes on. We have all these fronts. We got to keep our eyes on. Right? And of course, lots of other things happening. I saw one letter in the papers today. Guyanese deserve an opposition focus on the poor, not power. So we got to sort ourselves out. Let me just temper y'all, because I ain't want y'all come cuss to me. I don't see a coalition as coming together. I don't see it. I don't see it. Right? When that time comes, I'll give my full view on what I thought led us there. I'll give my full view. My full and frank view. I always want to be honest with y'all. Nobody ain't going to hold nothing over me. Right? I want to be independent like Kurt. I want to be independent with you, the Guyanese people. Y'all. It's your opinion I concerned about. So nobody ain't gonna say dance or the parliamentary seat gone. No. If you can do that, I already bought. If you see any value in my advocacy, if you see any value in my political work, and you said, we'd like you to represent us, fair is fair. But if you say walk a certain line, or else, you can keep that. And I say it here again because things are being whispered all over the place. I have no I don't want to say hope. Hope is not the right word. No aspirations again for the Alliance for Change leadership, as in running for leader of the party. Let me be specific. Okay? Because lots of people say, oh, well, I shouldn't say lots. People are saying, a couple of them, you're taking a certain stance. You want to run again for leader. That is how I felt last year. That is how I felt last year. That time came and went. The Alliance for Change has a leader. And the leadership of the Alliance for Change must lead. So I am not there. I am not there as where I was last year. Life has moved on, and I've moved on with it. And I ain't making no deals. I've spoken to nobody in the PNCR to say this or say that or walk a line and you know, something can happen later on. See, win, lose, or draw, I am for a coalition that involves the PNCR and the APNU. And I am not budging from there for anybody. That is my conviction. And I'm happy to be part of a party that prides itself on a liberal democratic process. And I have seen countless persons in my party utilize that liberal democratic process. And I must be allowed to do it as well. Liberal democracy. Without fear or favor. So I recommend Kurt De Silva as a good role model. Don't be bought. If your convictions line you up, so of course so. If your conviction line you up with thieving, right? Incompetence, bad governance and so on, take PPP. Take them. Take them. You got to take the whole package. You only want some. I see their own people saying, you all know Linden. You know on these issues, Linden is a tinderbox. Why you allow it to escalate? Huh? It's like willful negligence, criminal negligence. You had journalists who knew how that thing was going to take off if it wasn't dealt with early. PPP people on social media being vocal saying, y'all know, and you did nothing. And y'all want me to believe y'all got motive? Huh? You know what's their motive? See the opposition split. It's nice time for them. Right? And see Azruddin Mohammed go down in the esteem of the people of this country. Say don't affect their votes. You see? Look what Guyana Daily Lies have come to. Look what Guyana Daily Lies have come to. I see some journalists asking, where is this body and where is the Guyana Press Association? But those same journalists can come together, younger within the Press Association, and speak out against what Guyana Daily News is doing. But in their own veiled way, because they fear the repercussion of the PPP who lots of them are working for. Girl, is long now. I saying them is not good media house. It's long now. Right? And boy, Listen to how the one interview went last night outside of Lepanton's police station. Hear the nonsense she asking. Listen to the pronunciation. There was any media house will have the balls as a group of media workers to write and denounce Guyana Daily lies. They have taken it to an extreme now, almost. They make Trump look like nothing. A media house can write, knowing an individual went to a hospital to see a patient. He take him with blood pressure. That's full propaganda. That's full propaganda. When you come out and say people, oh, the supporters of Mohammed brandishing weapons, they went to burn down the police station and shoot up the station. And the PPP says nothing. The PPP says nothing. That is why I heard Mr. Norton advising that the observer bodies come early. And they're right. He's right. The election is not just the one day. The election is the whole period. And what the media monitors doing? Y'all let me step out the line here. You hear with credible sources this and the denunciations and Sherrod Duncan. And for weeks, these guys peddling the most vicious vitriol. And they're allowed to do it. Everybody know who Guyana Daily News belong to. And people circling the wagon. Circling the wagon. High government officials circling the wagon. And perhaps there are some of the intellectual authors behind the two. A man who had to resign government on a rape charge, among other things. He suddenly land back, pointing fingers at others. What a wicked government. No media house should be allowed to slander and libel people. You flying a drone wherever you're flying it, you want to come down in the people yard? You want to fly a drone in the people's house and they mustn't say nothing? And then one pack of lies, lie on top of lie. When I saw that man at the police station last night, carrying on, digging into these lies. What a country we've become, boy. Tell me if you are saying anything like that in 5 years of the last government. We had all the money in the world. Right? Kitty Carter, we go and getting things done. Kitty Carter, you see anything like this? You see anything like this? Maybe that was the problem. Let's leave it there this morning. Maybe that's the problem. You know? Maybe that's the problem. Bandits shot up last night, trying to rob a Chinese supermarket and lit them up. Can't do the time, don't do the crime. When you take on a course of action, they got reaction, consequences for that. Don't cry for me, Argentina. 2 bandits, wrong supermarket, wrong night, wrong security guard on duty. Lit them up. You know, we're being overrun because you got government distracted. You got government distracted. The time we're supposed to be securing our citizens, we're shooting them down in Linden. You see? And the bandits get a free rein. People fed up of it. Totally fed up. Of course, carnage on our roads and waterways continues here. Truck ran into a house in Manchester Village. A red X-Trail yesterday morning, totally written off on Heroes Highway. Speed what? What's a speedometer? You know, what's a speeding ticket? You all saw that vehicle. It's there on our Credible Sources Facebook page, totally written off. carnage on our roads and our waterways. Right? And of course, you got the Gallican issue, the friend from the private sector. US sent to jail for guns and drug trafficking or what have you. He was fresh off of observing the election in 2020 here, a member of the private sector commission. And Jerry Gavai said he didn't know the man's record. He didn't know. And he was head for the private sector commission at that time. Right? And because he didn't know, take national security advisor. You see, once you're the friend, you're good, you know. You're good. You're good. Like the CEO for GECOM, you could do how much ever wrongs. That might for somebody else be a red flag on in your employment file. But if you're good with them, that don't matter. He get national security advisor. And Gali Khan was right there in the private sector when he was chairman. Right there when he was chairman. They make him observer for whole election. And when the election came and went and he flew back to the States for whatever reason, go with him. Serve time in prison. Come back no quiet. Probably gone right back up in the private sector with your friends them. Right back in the private sector with your friends them. And then took the life of his former paramour. I saw one newspaper says, one publication. Others says she is his girlfriend. This young lady, Miss Marissa Beat, who worked at the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture. And I didn't see a bad word about her. Right? Save and accept, she ended up with this jerk. Who they said tried to commit suicide. Even that he can't get right. Sad to say, even that he couldn't get right. Even that. So we're dealing with the young lady from Diamond who was brutally murdered. And now another young lady loses her life at the hands of a man who professed to love her. You know, thoughts and prayers with the Skeet family, thoughts and prayers with her family, extended family, her friends, and all who knew her. By everything I've seen on social media, she seems to have been an upstanding young woman, career-driven, you know, purpose-driven. Then thoughts and prayers with them too. Thoughts and prayers with them. Right? Some other stuff on the timeline here to share with you guys. Right? We pick it up on the other broadcast. That's going to do it for us at this end this morning. Thanks for joining us. Folks, Maria and Janet, Andrew, Don, and Bernadette. Things we got to deal with in this country. So much happening. So much. You know, don't be distracted unnecessarily by some of the things they want to be a distraction. They want. They'd be happy if Linden go up in flames. It's less votes for the coalition. And say, look, Zapnu inspired. Everything is political. Police shoot a man, somehow there's Zapnu. The people are angry, you know, because they don't see the same kind of violence being meted out in other parts of the country, to other people in this country. They're rightfully angry. That's happening to everything. Everything that's bad and wrong. Right? And then Irfan saying some nonsense, but don't let people use you and something, instigate you and something. I wish, like Claudia Singh, he would rise one time out of the shadow of Jagdeo. Told you all from the start, he could be a good installed president, you know. But you got Jagdeo behind him. He could be a good installed president. You get Jagdeo whispering like the devil he is in his ear all the time. That's our time this morning, folks. That's our program. Our thoughts and prayers with all the families watching this morning across this country. All of the family, and there are many. You know, I saw one poster says 5 young men in Linden dead. 72 hours. 72 hours. That's our time, folks. That's our program. Stay safe. Have a fantastic rest of the day. We're going to see you guys on the other side. Stay safe and thanks for joining us in your numbers this morning. That's our time, folks. We're coming down to it. Coming down to it. electoral period. Right? We got to keep putting one foot in front of the next. Space and power. That's the time, folks. Stay.